Hey all, Brie from the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I have got a gift for you this holiday season. If you love the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I mean love the No Guilt Mom podcast, then tell us about it. Leave us a review, and you can be entered to win a No Guilt Mom gift card. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and then simply go to noguiltmom.com/review to enter our giveaway for a free No Guilt Mom gift card, simply for telling us what you think about the podcast. It is amazing. But don't delay. Get right on this, as we're going to be giving away that No Guilt Mom gift card on December 21st. So get right on over and visit noguiltmom.com/review.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, JoAnn Crone, and I'm joined here by my fantastically wonderful, brilliant co-host, Brie Tucker.
Well, hello, everybody. How are you?
It's so funny. This is the third time we've tried to record this episode. It was just first I messed up, and then we were all ready to go, and my dog started pawing at the door.
It sounds like he's pounding at the door.
Yeah.
Or she.
Yeah, she's pretty aggressive, and she knows how to open doors. So we have those handles that look like levers in our house, and like she could just, she paws them, and bam, she's in.
Yeah. And then she came in, just looked at us both, and sat down on the floor.
Yeah.
So I just had to be in here. I heard you talking.
Usually, though, when this happens, and I don't know if you have dogs in your house, where if she's quiet for too long, I get worried because she's torn apart pencils in here when we've been recording episodes.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
She's like found little pieces of paper. Like she found little plastic pieces from her dog toy. She's a bit of a troublemaker. Definitely.
She is definitely a toddler is what she is.
She is a toddler. I'm hoping this phase ends soon, but she's like 3 now. So,
and she's also how many pounds and thinks she's a lap dog? So I don't know if you have much hope.
Yeah, she's like 65 or 70 pounds and thinks she's a lap dog. So it's fun times in our house. But speaking of toddlers and kids, this episode is all about our kids when they fight.
Wow, because, that's not something anybody has any. No. You guys out there, you can't relate to this, right? No.
I mean, sibling fights, I don't know about you, but man, like my whole heart like just twists into like this little knot every time I hear my kids screaming at each other or fighting over something that I feel is really trivial, but I know is very important to them. Like I have to fight all of my emotions not to explode and just tell them to quit it and knock it off.
Well, hats off to you for being able to at least internally acknowledge that it's important to them, because a lot of times I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? Are we really arguing over this right now? But, and again, I roll back to that whole like, I should know better than to think that or say that. But, we all do that, right?
We all do that. It happens to everyone.
We're all like rolling our eyes internally, sometimes externally, of like, really, we're going to argue over whether or not a square has 4 sides or 4 corners.
Yeah, we posted on the No Guilt Mom Facebook page. We asked you all, what is the silliest thing your kids have fought about? And oh my gosh, we got some really great answers.
Oh yeah, one was about who pushed who into fake lava.
I like that one.
That was a good one. That sounds like a normal one. We have fights all the time in our car, and my kids are older, so this is a funny fight, but at the same time, it makes me groan and roll my eyes. Your song that you picked on the queue was 5 minutes, and mine was only 3, so I should get 2 songs to your 1. And then they're like fighting over the phone, and I'm like, I'm gonna take this phone back and turn the car around. No one gets to listen to any music. And then I'm like, okay, I sound crazy.
The funniest fight in our house was when my son learned about shapes in his class, and he learned that squares had 4 corners. And my daughter was like, well, they also have 4 sides, Eric. And he was so insistent that squares only had 4 corners and not 4 sides. He was so insulted. And this is what they were arguing about back and forth. And it was like, I was beside myself because I'm
trying
like,
not to laugh.
Yeah. But, then we get into the bigger fights where like one says something really mean to the other. And those fights are even, I think, more difficult to handle because I can't take the side of humor with them in that situation. and it does become serious. And then the question becomes, how do we resolve it in a way where us parents do not have to be the referees all the time, and we teach kids to solve their issues on their own? That is what this episode is all about today. We hope you enjoy. And today we are brought to you by our upcoming The Sib Journal. Sib stands for Siblings Interacting Boldly. And if you are frustrated with your kids fighting all the time and you feel like you always have to be the ref, this is a tool that we have created to help you with that. The Sib Journal takes kids through the steps of first acknowledging their own feelings, saying kind words to their siblings, and building the sibling relationship. And then we take them through conflict management, which, I mean, where do kids learn conflict management in a really, really structured way? It's not something that they can learn in schools right now because of limited time in the classroom. This is a skill that will benefit them for the rest of their lives. And that is what the Sib Journal is going to help you with. In the meantime, make sure to pick up our Sibling Adventure Log. It is free, and it'll just help your kids build some common ground with giving them some fun missions, spy missions to complete.
And you know what I'm hearing out of that? I'm also hearing activities for them to do to keep themselves busy.
Indeed. Go get the Sibling Adventure Log. We have a link for you in the show notes. And now, on with the show.
You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom Podcast.
Okay, Brie. So we were chatting just this morning outside about a situation that happened in my house, where I said, I feel weird kind of sharing these situations because I know that it is not the same way in other people's houses. And I feel like if I share it without enough context around it, that it looks like, oh my gosh, it's just magic. And there was no work that went into this whatsoever. And these are just how these kids are, when really it's not the case.
Right. Because it takes work and it takes a lot of skill practicing with them.
Yes.
So I want you to share with everybody the fight, though, because it was a very interesting one.
So my kids do fight. I mean, they're going to fight for the rest of their lives. Fighting in itself, I don't believe is a bad thing. What I do think can get out of hand is when they start name calling, or when they're refusing to listen to the other side, or when they're holding grudges because a conflict they had in the past has not been resolved.
Or they're getting physical with one another.
Right. Yes, that is when we run into issues.
And I think a big factor in recognizing this is maybe fighting is our normal word that we use. So that is our everyday word. But I think occasionally thinking about it as conflict rather than fighting is where, as a parent, we can have that positive mindset and see how it can be useful and see how we can learn skills out of it. Because a lot of times when I think about fighting, I'm like, okay, fighting is a bad thing and it's not something that we want people to do. And we as human beings don't like fighting for the most part.
No.
Most people don't.
We've been raised to kind of avoid conflict, that conflict is a bad thing, and that fighting, if you're fighting over something, I mean, this is just like an internalized thing I hear a lot of people say. Like, if you fight with someone, it just means your personalities don't mesh and there's no hope of you ever getting along.
Oh, well, that's just not true.
It's completely false. Completely false.
So, but I do think it's important to note that while conflict and fighting do have a lot of things in common, they are definitely not the same thing.
No, they're not the same thing. So we do want our kids and we want everybody to have healthy conflict, but it takes some work to teach the skills that allow for healthy conflict and don't really let it get out of control.
It definitely does. Like I can think of many, many instances where my older sisters and I had plenty of conflicts and or fights growing up, but a lot of things that sometimes they were helpful, sometimes they weren't. Like, you know.
And then sometimes it would go into physical. My sister used to bite me.
My sisters locked me in a closet once when they were supposed to be babysitting me.
Oh, man.
That's the story that comes up like every Thanksgiving. So shout out to you, Shannon, Holly. Love y'all. They're like, hey, you want to play Truth or Dare? And they locked me in a closet.
Oh no!
And they were like, hug it, bitch, kick it out.
Oh!
Made babysitting easy for a couple hours so the neighbors heard me screaming. And then they were like, what is going
a couple
on?
hours?
Oh, it was back in the 80s.
Oh.
But of course, if my kids did it now, I'd be like, what are you thinking? But now I look back and I'm like,
It was the 80s.
yeah, it made me much more aware to be thoughtful when my sisters asked me if I wanted to play a game. We'll just say that.
We'll say that.
But I mean, yeah, we all had conflict. We all had fighting that we did, but hopefully we learned to move forward. And in my case with my sisters, yes, we have very healthy communication between us. Like if there's something going on, we'll talk about it. We share our feelings. We know that at the core that we all love and respect each other, and that's how we can move forward. And I think that's a big factor in this.
But
right?
I also need to point out, because like I feel it's that way now between me and my sister, and I was not perfect in that scenario. I would hit her and I would slap her, and that is how I got back at her. Or I would just like shut her out of my room, knowing that I love you, Jamie. I love you so much. But knowing that that was the thing that bugged her the most.
Shout out to our siblings. We love you guys.
Shout out to our siblings. But like my sister and I have very healthy communication, and we have had some like instances where we've gone at it with each other, like just shouted at each other as adults. And then we've worked through it and gotten through it. However, I do want to say that I think that we're kind of at an advantage here, both of our relationships, because me and my sister, we have both worked in education, and you and your family, like,
right, all
in education,
right,
all knowing these skills that we've been taught to use with teaching others that we then apply to our own relationships, and we're able to work through them. We're hitting that time of year where my brain gets so overloaded in December that I look for anything to make life easier. And I have to say, Brie, that Green Chef is one of those services.
Yes. Green Chef is there to take away the dreaded, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? You can eat clean all holiday long with over 80 weekly meal options each week, featuring things like quick and easy, protein-packed, calorie-smart, or my personal favorite, the keto options.
And you don't have to lose track of healthy eating habits during the holidays, because every Green Chef customer gets a free session with one of their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you, which is very cool.
And I have to say that I have been loving their recipes lately. They put things together I have never thought of. This week, we're trying the lemon basil caper pork with sauteed cauliflower, bell peppers, almonds, and feta cheese, my favorite. Their recipes make it so easy to support my wellness goals without skipping on flavor.
For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code NGM250 at greenchef.com/NGM250. That's greenchef.com/NGM250. And don't forget to use that code NGM250 to get $250 off.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. Hey all, Brie here, and I wanted to share one of my favorite gifts to give during the holiday season, a Storyworth book. It is the most amazing gift ever. Storyworth is an online service that lets you create a special and unique gift of someone's story. I've given Storyworth books to both of my parents, and it has been their favorite gift, hands down. And did I mention it is so easy? Storyworth emailed my parents questions every week that I handpicked from their massive list of questions that they have. All my parents had to do was open their email and answer them. That easy. I asked my dad questions like, did you have any rules that you set for yourself as a parent, which you immediately broke? And he did. I even asked both of my parents, are you more like your mom or your dad? And they shared a lot of really amazing qualities that I didn't know about my grandparents at the time. Then at the end of the year, Storyworth compiles all of their answers, puts them into this gorgeous book that covers everything. My parents love showing us their books, and I personally love getting a chance to read them. With Storyworth, I am giving those I love a thoughtful and personal gift from the heart that preserves their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/NGM and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/NGM to save $10 on your first purchase.
Correct me if I'm wrong, like send me angry emails if you're listening right now, but I don't believe that all sibling relationships as adults are healthy, because the people are like in any way flawed, but more that they just haven't been taught the skills needed to communicate in a way that resolves conflict. I don't think that getting those skills is really an inherent part in our society. Like it's not built in.
Right. So I'm dying to have you share this situation that happened the other night, like how the fight went down, because it was quite hilarious. The point of the fight.
It was,
and I find it even funnier being around on a regular basis. I can totally have seen that fight occur.
Yeah.
And then what happened next was really amazing. So
it was.
Let's share.
So my kids love watching like reruns of Full House. I'm not even talking about Fuller House. I'm talking about the original Full House.
Like bringing you back to Friday night, TGIF.
Yeah. And it's on Nick at Night, by the way, now, which just makes me feel so old. But because Nick at Night used to be like, I Love Lucy, Bewitched. And now I'm like, Full House is on Nick at Night.
Okay. You should have felt old back when the music growing up got moved to the oldie station. That's all I got to say. Like as soon as they started putting Van Halen and Bon Jovi on the oldie station, I was like, oh God.
I didn't need to know that.
Okay, so again, Full House, one of the most wholesome comedies of the 90s.
This show is on like 24/7 in my house. Like we go downstairs, and if my kids are taking a break, they are watching Full House, like no doubt. So the fight started because my son was watching Full House with my daughter. And he was like, I don't want to watch Full House anymore. So he picks up the remote. And for our TV, like you have to be at a certain point of the room for the remote to work. And
okay.
So he was
gotta get the angle right.
You got to get the angle right. So he was standing on the couch with like his hand above his head, like trying to like do the remote. And he was getting so frustrated that the remote just smashed on the floor. Like he dropped
slipped out of his hand.
Slipped out of his hand, battery, which caused a huge explosion from my son. He blamed it then on my daughter. And he told her that he didn't want her in the family anymore.
Ouch.
Yes. I mean, emotions get heated, things get rough, things get said.
Yeah.
It happens. The most important part I always see in it is like, we just need to repair. But getting them to that like place of repairing, that's what takes some work. So here's what went down in my house. My daughter then went up to her room and she was very, very upset, understandably. And my son was very, very upset. So the first thing I had to do as a parent is just remind my son, okay, you are so upset. What do you need to cool down? And we've been working on this, and he's been...
Wait, because his nickname is, when he gets upset?
Fire Kitty.
Yes, he likes to be called
He knows
Fire
he's
Kitty.
Fire Kitty. He knows he is. This is not a nickname we say in jest. This is a nickname that he refers to himself as. So he's tried deep breathing. Deep breathing does not work for him. So lately we've been trying music, and he went to go get his Kindle, and he played like a Disney station. So he was sitting on the couch for about 30 minutes singing along to Disney songs, cooling down. And my daughter was upstairs very, very upset. And so then I went just to talk to my daughter, just to comfort her. And my whole thing was connecting with her, making sure she felt heard, and just finding her side of the story and letting her talk to me. Mm-hmm. So that was something.
How did she feel though? Like with that situation, like was she upset with him? Did she feel like he threw the remote? Because I wonder if she was even looking at him when it happened.
She wasn't upset at that particular situation. It was more everything and how fights usually go down, where she felt that he doesn't apologize to her and he doesn't mean it when he apologizes to her.
It's more of that, I'm sorry.
It was like,
thing.
Okay, I'm sorry. And then, everything supposedly goes back to normal in her view. So after her talking with me and her just getting the feelings out, and I don't offer advice when she talks to me. If I want to offer advice, I'd be like, okay, so do you want to hear what I think in this, or do you just want cuddles? Lately, I've been stopping that one though, even because it's just, sometimes you don't want advice. Sometimes you just want to be heard and be talked to. We came downstairs and we had dinner, and both kids were sitting on their opposite sides of the bench at the kitchen table. And we were eating. It was very, very quiet.
Nobody wanted to talk to each other.
Nobody was talking. And my husband's right here beside us. And I say, okay, let's talk about what happened. Because at that time, both kids were cooled down. There was no more yelling. I could see my son wasn't stressed anymore. His body was relaxed. Usually when he gets stressed, his face kind of tightens. You can see it. But everything looked okay. I'm like, okay, who wants to start first? And this is the part I hesitate to share, because this took a lot of work with my kids to do. We've been practicing this since they first started fighting, when my son was probably 2 or 3 when he could first talk.
So this isn't something that just happened
It's
overnight.
not
You
something
didn't
that
try one
happens
tool
overnight.
and bam, it took
something
time.
that like they needed to be explicitly taught, and then I was there to kind of remind them to use it each time a conflict happened.
Mhm.
So my daughter's like, I'll go first. And right away she says, like, I feel hurt when you tell me things like I'm the worst sister or you don't want me in the family. And I want you to apologize and mean it. And that's what she said. It's not like she said it's still very, very hard for her directly to say it, but she is now saying it without prompting.
Yeah, because she's definitely one I've noticed, like my oldest as well, like a little bit more of the quiet one that doesn't like to cause the riffle, doesn't like to cause any arguments, doesn't like to cause waves.
Yes.
They like to just have everybody be happy and get along.
She's very, like, she reminds me a lot of myself when I was a kid. I would rather avoid situations. I still do that. I still try to avoid situations instead of dealing with them.
And that's the interesting part too, because like our dynamic in our family is very similar to yours, even though our age difference is very different and our genders are flip-flopped in our family. But like my oldest is quiet and he keeps it in. It doesn't mean that he doesn't get hurt. Oh yeah, he gets hurt. He just deals with it in a different way that doesn't always work out well because sometimes it tends to be an explosion.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really good to hear that she was willing to be the first one to talk and bring that up. So that
she was
great.
willing to do it.
Yay!
And then my son, at first he didn't hear her because I think like the most common response when we hear someone else's feelings is hurt because of a result of our actions, we want to defend. And that's
human nature.
That's human nature. And never ends well. Like, even though that's our instinct, it never ends well to just defend yourself because, number one, the other person does not feel like they have been heard or listened to.
Yeah.
And number two, you don't have an understanding of the situation that actually caused the other person pain.
Right, because you're not really listening.
Yeah, you're not really listening.
Your mind immediately clicks on to the whole, like, okay, I got to tell them why I did this because there was a good reason.
Yes.
I'm not agreeing that, or I'm not saying that I had no fault in it, but I'm saying I had a good reason. And if they just knew my reason, it would be better.
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of how people think, because even in the adult world, like I had this situation happen to me like 2 weeks ago with a professional we work with in our business. And I said reasons I was unhappy and they just defended. And I did not feel heard.
Yeah.
I think it's common.
Right.
So to feel heard, something that we've been working on is as soon as I see that as a parent, I'm like, okay, tell her why she's upset. What did she say?
So you still let him like finish his sentence. You didn't like cut him off.
Yeah.
You didn't interrupt him. You still let him speak. But then as soon as he was done, you're like, but wait a minute.
I said, let's rewind. Why is she upset? And sometimes he'll be like, I don't know.
So she has to say it again.
Let's have her say it again. And then usually a second time she says it, he'll be like, okay, this is why she's upset. And man, as soon as you can get your kids to repeat why the other's upset, like I usually see a massive change, like in their body language, in their demeanor. It's like as soon as they acknowledge it, they're like, oh, okay, I've upset this person. And it changes from one of like defensiveness to one of like healthy guilt. And guilt's a good thing. Like we call it no guilt mom. I mean, I really mean no shame mom, because guilt is that you are upset about an action you took, and like actions you took can always be repaired. Shame is thinking you are a horrible, bad person. And that is something that we don't want our kids to have. We want them to have some healthy guilt. We just don't want them to have shame. Right. So guilt can be a good thing. It totally transformed how he saw the situation, like his shoulders, like you could see like his posture kind of slouched a little bit. And he said he was sorry. And then he teared up a bit because he said he felt bad. But it was a massive breakthrough for their relationship, because I think finally my daughter felt heard, that she got a meaningful apology. And it wasn't that I requested that he give a meaningful apology. It was that she requested the meaningful apology. And that made all the difference. This message is sponsored by Greenlight. It is so hard to raise kids who know how to manage money. Brie, right now, my kids are all about earning money for presents. My daughter wants to get presents for all of her friends, and my son is doing a Secret Santa with his friends.
Oh, I hear you. And if you're looking to raise kids that are financially responsible, we have got a lifesaver recommendation for you that you need to check out. It is Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy, all while giving parents peace of mind.
You can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. Meanwhile, your kids can begin their journey towards financial autonomy by learning how to save, invest, and spend wisely.
So sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM.
That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM. My son is playing a game right now on his computer where he's a thief and the cops are after him. So I'm so excited about this new app, Give As We Grow, where instead of being the quote unquote bad guys, kids are practicing giving back.
That is so cool, JoAnn. I really wish that there was something like this when my kids were younger that got them excited about giving back to others and helped them build a better understanding of what it really means to volunteer.
Give As We Grow is the first of its kind free educational mobile app for children ages 8 to 11 that teaches kids via fun, service-focused minigame quests to tap into their unique talents and interests to help others.
And did you know that studies show that there is a biological connection between generosity and happiness, and that volunteering improves people's physical and mental health? I mean, kids who volunteer typically do better in school and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. And that is something that I think we all want for our kids.
Ready to spark a new movement in generosity? Find and download Give As We Grow for free in the App Store for Android and iOS. And for resources for the whole family, visit giveaswegrow.org.
So my first question to you, because yay, that had to feel awesome. And it's okay to have it feel awesome when you have a great parenting moment.
Yes.
So that had to feel awesome. But here's my question to you, because I want to make sure that all of our listeners out there, do you think your children are going to fight again?
Oh, yes. Most definitely. They will fight over and over and over again, and it will not go this well.
There'll be good times. There'll be bad times, but they will continue to fight, right?
But something that I've noticed is
conflict. Sorry.
I'm not the referee. I do not decide their next course of action. I am not like, okay, you should do this, or you should do that, or you should do this. Like we were watching Diary of a Wimpy Kid last night.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this one was Roderick Rules. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
Okay, so in it, Rachel Harris, the mom, she's writing this parenting column for the local newspaper about like how she's like this great parenting expert. And it's really funny because I'm watching the movie and I am cringing with all of her parenting advice. Like one of them is she wants her boys to spend more time with each other. So she devises something called mom bucks, where they get a mom buck for every hour they spend with each other. And Brie's rolling her eyes right now when I'm talking about this because it's not a great strategy, guys.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Really horrible. And she's writing about this in the newspaper. And at the end of the movie, the boys actually start getting along. And the thing that got them to get along was not this mom's like parenting advice and know-how. It was they had a party and they had some conflicts and some fights and they got through it.
Right.
They worked through it with each other and they had empathy for each other too. Like when Roderick didn't get to play with his band at the talent show. Now I'm forgetting Wimpy Kid's name. Heffley? Greg? I think it's Greg. I think it's Greg. Yeah. Greg like saw that and he saw his brother so sad and he's like, he talked to his parents and said, you have to let him do it. And so he went to bat for his brother. But going back to like the parenting kind of moments and advice, sometimes our best parenting moments, they are not anything we do. Like we do not see the results of our actions or things we take with our kids, sometimes for years.
Right.
I mean, this I statement thing, I first started 5 years ago. And every conflict that's come up, I've just reminded them, okay, tell them how you feel and what made you feel that way.
So it sounds like it's taking a lot of work, which isn't a bad thing because anything that's worthwhile in the world is going to have some work needed on your end. So it's not necessarily, maybe work is the wrong word. Maybe it's just about how you have to practice what you preach. Like if you want them to do this, then you have to do it.
Yeah.
And you also have to keep supporting them because it's a skill that they're learning.
And it wasn't something where I'm looking for a new parenting strategy every week because something's not working. This is something where I was taught
shows
this.
It works.
It's science. Yeah, it's based on research. I statements are very well researched. They're very it's documented that they work and they help others really kind of change their behavior because now they know what everybody else is thinking.
Right.
It took a long time and it's still in the process of taking a long time. We are far from done here, but it's also easier knowing that, hey, all I have to do is just prompt, okay, how do you feel? And that's it.
Yeah, if they don't already start it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's, again, when it comes to conflict, we already talked about, there's lots of conflict in the world. And it's going to happen, but at least we know this way the conflict is going to be less.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have more positive outcomes to it. And your children are learning skills that they're going to be just flat out life skills that they're going to need the rest of their life because, hey, are you going to be there to be able to referee every single conflict they have?
No. Right? We want to give them a skill they can use for the rest of their lives. So some tips that you can use for this is like we talked about, first, I gave them their time. I let them cool down. If you let anger enter any conflict or talking about a conflict, it never goes well.
I think that's a really good point because, if you just even look into brain research, it's well documented that when an individual is in a highly emotional state, they are not as able to access their higher brain functions, right? Their executive thinking. Mm-hmm. They're not able to think out actions and reactions. They are dealing with emotions at that point in time. And for the younger the child, the less developed their upper brain, their higher executive level thinking is.
Yeah.
So you can't expect a child who is, like you said, you started this when your son was able to talk, but that doesn't mean that you expected him to be able to do it.
No,
you had to help coach him through it.
A ton of support for him and coaching him through it.
So to expect, to tell a child who, let's say, is 3, 4, or 5 what an I statement is and to expect them to be able to create them, they're not going to be able to.
They're not, but they do need the initial instruction.
Yes.
And that could be hard. That could be hard to figure out where to begin as a parent, how to teach the I statement, how to teach this conflict resolution, and how to support your kids. So after giving your kids some time to cool off, after prompting them to use their I statement, find support. And that is what we are here for you. We got support in our education programs and in psychology on how we can use this. And now we're here to support you in this. So the first step, check out episode 12 of the podcast, Positive Discipline with Dodie Blomberg.
Lots of great support, lots of great ideas in that one for sure.
That is going to help you kind of retrain your mindset to see exactly what we're doing here and what the concept is behind this. And when you know the background concepts, you're able to stick with the strategies longer because you know what you're achieving. You know it's not a quick fix. You're in it for the long haul. You're looking down the road.
Right.
So find that support. And of course, we're here to support you.
No Guilt Mom is here.
No Guilt
Brie,
Mom.
JoAnn, we are here to support y'all. It's a big thing. Reading our articles on the blog, there's a lot of stuff in there about brain research and a lot of great authors with great information and tools. So for sure.
And we have the SIB journal coming out November 9th, which is a complete system. It's video lessons combined with an actual journal, the journal's my favorite thing because this is the first time we've had something so cool. The pages are just so colorful and it's meant to work kids through. There's games.
There's inspirational things. There's stuff that they get to do together. So it takes the best of that sibling adventure and puts it into the journal too. So again, it gives them that opportunity to have that positive interaction and it leads them through things and it gives them the opportunity to practice it in a safe environment.
And it's that structured approach. So if you don't know how to begin with I statements or teaching conflict resolution,
let us start
This is it. And leading up to that, if you are listening to this in October, every Wednesday, we're going to be on Facebook Live with something else to help you with the sibling dynamic. lives that help you cool off your own emotions to why do my kids hate each other so much? That is a question we get a lot. We'll be doing that during a Facebook Live and talking about that. So check out the No Guilt Mom Facebook page for the schedule if you want to join us live and ask us questions right there, or if you want to catch the video a little bit later and put your comments there. That's a great way to get support from us.
Right, because it doesn't happen overnight. Everybody still is going to have conflicting kiddos, but we have tools that we can make it better.
Yes, we can. Yeah. So until then, and until we talk to you, remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you, and we will talk to you next time.
Thanks for stopping by. Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday who was pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.